My parents sent a message to the group chat. "We believe it is best for you to take a step back for now." My aunt responded with a thumbs up emoji. I replied, "I understand. I will honor that and step away from the family fund as well." That evening, I closed my contribution. At 3:11 in the morning, my phone began buzzing nonstop. By sunrise, there were 89 missed calls. My dad left a voicemail voice asking, "What happened?" "The bank has flagged everything." I simply responded, "I am respecting your wishes." This all happened before they discovered everything else I managed. The message was clear. "We think it is best for you to take a step back for now." That was the notification. It came through a group chat of all ways. My parents, my aunt, and even my uncle were included, though he seldom spoke up. This time, he didn't need to say anything. The silence spoke volumes. The message arrived at 7:42 in the evening on a Thursday. I was warming up some leftover curry and considering finishing that spreadsheet before going to bed when I saw it. "We have talked it over, and we agree it is best if you step away from the family for now. Emma needs some space. We all do." Below that, my aunt reacted again with a thumbs up. Just like that. No phone call, no further explanation, only a thumb. I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing back. "Understood. I will respect that and step away from the family fund as well." I did not wait for a response. That night, I accessed the joint account I had quietly managed for 5 years. The one that paid for Mom's insulin, helped Dad refinance the second mortgage, and kept Emma's car going when her payments were delayed. I removed my automatic contributions. Then I closed the account. At exactly 3:11 in the morning, my phone began to buzz continuously. It buzzed again and again without stopping. By the time the sun came up, there were 89 missed calls. The final voicemail was from my father. His voice sounded unsteady, furious, and frightened all at once. What had happened? The bank flagged all the transactions. "Are you okay? Why would you do this?" I answered his message with a single line. "I am respecting your choice." This was before they discovered how much I had quietly taken care of. To truly grasp why that message felt like a betrayal, you need to go back 5 years, back to Emma's second hospitalization. My dad called me while crying from a Walgreens parking lot. "She is not going to survive, sweetheart," he said. "They will not admit her without insurance. We have no money left." That night, I emptied my entire savings and paid for the rehabilitation out of my own pocket. Emma appeared steady for a time. Everyone called it a miracle. But what no one ever said aloud, not even once, was that I had made it happen. Nobody offered to repay me. Not a single person asked how I was holding up. But it did not end there. When my mother was diagnosed with diabetes, I began covering her medicine costs. My father's hours were being reduced at the warehouse. Emma's condition kept fluctuating between stable and fragile. Each time she fell apart, they came to me quietly and desperately. At first, it was small amounts, $300 here and there for just 1 month. Then they asked if I could help establish something ongoing, a permanent kind of family emergency fund. I was 27 years old. Single and working 80-hour weeks in finance seemed reasonable to me. I could afford it, so I proceeded. I created the family fund under my name. Payments for Mom's medications, Emma's therapy co-pays, even the phone bill were routed through me when they fell behind. They granted me access to everything. Passwords, account details, balances. Not because they trusted me, but because they wanted to avoid dealing with it themselves. They called me the responsible one, but really, they meant I was the convenient one. My life became a detailed record of silent sacrifices. Meanwhile, Emma kept falling into dark cycles repeatedly. In 2020, she received a DUI and I handled the lawyer fees. She moved in with a man named Jake, who certainly was not abusive. When she left him abruptly in the middle of the night, I sent her enough money via Venmo for a hotel and groceries. I never got a single penny back. No one ever asked where the money was coming from or saw the detailed spreadsheet I maintained just to manage staying afloat. They overlooked that I moved to a cheaper apartment, skipped vacations, and had oatmeal for dinner more nights than I would admit because it had to be that way. I became the financial shield protecting them from total collapse, and for a while, I accepted this role. That is until the Christmas situation 2 years ago. Emma threw a tantrum when I told her I could not buy new tires after just covering her rent. She told my parents I made her feel judged. That night, I received a message from Dad saying, "Just try to be a little more understanding. Emily is currently recovering. You have no idea how difficult that is, and I finally broke. Not loudly or in public, but something inside me shattered quietly like fragile glass, giving way under pressure. I did not respond right away. Instead, I chose a different path. I began keeping detailed records. Every single dollar given, every bill covered, every excuse crafted. I backed everything up, sent statements to my email, gathered screenshots, not to confront them yet, but to remind myself this was happening, that I wasn't imagining the exhaustion, the recurring pattern, the endless taking without any return. Then last month, everything reached a boiling point. Emma sent a message to the family group saying, "Hey, I know finances are tight, but could the fund pay for a yoga retreat in Arizona? It's for my mental well-being. A yoga retreat costs $3,200. I didn't reply. Instead, I waited, curious to see their reaction. My dad, the very man I helped out of overdraft on 2 occasions last year, replied, "Sounds like something you truly need. Let's figure this out." My mom added a heart emoji. That's when it hit me. They weren't merely taking advantage of me. They expected to be used. They acted as though the fund belonged to them, and I was just a silent benefactor. The appreciation vanished long ago, replaced by pure entitlement. The worst moment, like a bomb dropped in the room, happened just 2 nights before Emma's message. We were on our usual monthly family video call, which often turned into a therapy hour for her with me silently acting as the ATM. I attempted to share news about my recent promotion, but I was drowned out by the pattern of financial demands. I had just been promoted to director at the company. Enormous raise, tremendous responsibility. Dad cut me off in the middle of my explanation. "Sorry, can we get back to Emma's housing situation? She no longer feels safe where she lives now. They wanted me to help move her to a better neighborhood. Naturally, I refused. I didn't argue or push back. I simply said with calm certainty, maybe it is time for someone else to take charge." Silence followed, cold, harsh, and offended. Then, 2 days later, that message arrived. "We think it is best if you step aside for now." Aunt Carol's thumbs up felt like a stab. They believed they were pushing me away, but in truth, they were cutting the only lifeline holding their financial world together. I had been the hidden force keeping everything afloat. Once I stopped, all their stability collapsed. Exactly 36 hours later, the consequences started appearing. Overdraft warnings were the first sign. Then Mom's pharmacy reached out to me. After that, Emma, who wanted distance, left a voicemail. She began quietly but ended screaming, "Why would you do this? You knew I depended on that payment." By Sunday morning, the messages became relentless. Dad bombarded me with voice notes, sounding like he was unraveling right in front of me. They removed me from the family chat as if I no longer belonged. The mortgage payment was missed. "I thought you took care of the insurance." The car had become uninsured. What happened to the utilities account? The bank froze our checking account, claiming there were several warning signs. "You need to fix this. Fix this now." As if I had shattered something fragile. As if I hadn't simply stepped back when they requested. The true issue was not that I stopped lending a hand. It was that no one ever recognized how much I was the one holding everything together. Then came the family Zoom meeting. My cousin Emily arranged it, pretending the purpose was just to catch up. But the moment I logged in, I noticed their faces, arranged in perfect rectangles like a tribunal. Mom's lips were so tightly pressed they appeared pale. Dad was pacing back and forth. Emma had tears streaming down her cheeks. It all seemed staged. Aunt Carol sat confidently in a scarf and pearls as if we were in a courtroom. "Why did you do this to us?" Emma began, her voice shaking. "You just abandoned us." "After all I've done?" I replied. "You mean after I paid your rent, supported your rehab, and got ridiculed for refusing your yoga retreat? That is not fair," she started. "Fair?" I snapped back. "Do you want fair? For 5 years, I have been covering your tracks like a careful cleaner. I wiped up your messes, handled your overdrafts, bailed you out while you posted motivational quotes about healing and balance. And the second I hesitate, you kick me out of the family chat like I was nothing." Mom finally spoke up. "It was not kicking you out. We were giving you some space, too." "No, you were not," I interjected. "You were taking Emma's side again, as always. You just found a polite way to tell me to vanish." "So I left." Dad crossed his arms. "You did not have to cancel the fund." "I never canceled it," I explained. "I closed it under my name, funded it with my own money, and handled all the management. That so-called family fund was not a trust, but a control mechanism." His face flushed deeply as he said, "We trusted you." I responded firmly, "No, you manipulated me." Then I opened the folder on my computer and shared my screen. A detailed spreadsheet appeared. It showed rows upon rows of payments with dates, amounts, and every single expense accounted for: rent, medical bills, utilities, repairs, Emma's retreat that I nearly paid for, the overdrafts I resolved, Aunt Carol's emergency dental visit, even the Uber rides I covered so Mom could reach the hospital at 2 in the morning during a panic attack. Emily whispered, amazed, "Who even keeps all this?" Carol sneered. "Someone who knew one day you'd convince her she imagined everything." I stayed silent, focusing on the screen. Then I clicked to the last tab, revealing a running total of $87,000. No one spoke. Dad moved away from the camera as if struck. Mom gasped in horror. "You've been tracking us?" "No," I said quietly. "I've been struggling to survive among you." Emma suddenly slammed the screen like a child throwing a fit, shouting, "You're just resentful. You have always been bitter because nobody gives you credit for being the responsible daughter. You want applause for acting mature." "No," I stated calmly. "I only want boundaries, and I refuse to be your financial fallback anymore." Carol muttered under her breath, "That's rich. You think money is the only thing that matters?" "No," I replied, "but it has always been the only thing you cared about." They came to me for help. Then I shut the spreadsheet, looked directly at the camera, and delivered the final statement. "I have already contacted the bank. All joint authorizations have been removed. My name is no longer linked to any of your accounts. The credit cards are closed. The shared utility auto payments have been canceled. The insurance premiums, you will need to enroll yourselves again. You wanted me to step away. This is what stepping away looks like." Mom gasped. Dad's face turned pale. Emma appeared as if she had been struck. Emily leaned back in shock. But I was not finished. "I also spoke with a lawyer," I added. "You will be receiving documents within the next few days. I am terminating any legal connections between me and the family trust that was never officially established, just in case someone tries to misuse my credit or open accounts in my name again." Emma cried out, "You are overreacting. You are cutting us off." I replied, "I am protecting myself. From now on, I will not be your safety net, your backup plan, or your free ride." Dad looked shattered but stayed silent. Mom quietly wept. Emma stood up and walked off screen, slamming something behind her. Carol reached forward and ended the call without a word. I sat back, heart racing, hands shaking. For the first time in 10 years, I was no longer afraid of the consequences because I had nothing left to lose except the burden I had been carrying for far too long. The silence after that call was almost haunting. For the first time in years, my life felt different. My phone did not ring with a quick request or a favor to cover something. There were no voicemails filled with guilt, no teary face emojis, and no passive-aggressive messages from Emma about family members turning their backs. Nothing at all. It felt as if I had completely disappeared. Initially, I believed maybe they finally understood. Perhaps they were starting to manage on their own. But I should have realized the truth sooner. Exactly 10 days later, an email arrived from an unknown address, clearly a disposable one, containing just one sentence: "You have ruined everything." Along with it were images of bills, Emma's eviction notice, a final warning from the electricity company, and a rejected credit card application showing my name as the former co-signer. Everything was falling apart rapidly and messily. People who have always depended on you do not crumble gently. They fall hard and blame you for their downfall. That same week, my mom appeared at my workplace while I was in a meeting. My assistant came rushing in, eyes wide. "There is a woman here who says she is your mother and won't leave," she said. I stepped into the lobby and saw her pale and trembling, clutching an envelope full of papers. "I don't know where else to turn," she said in a fragile voice. "Your dad is sleeping on the couch. Emily has not left her room for 3 days. The landlord said he will change the locks next week." I remained silent, so she played her final card. "I raised you," she said, suddenly fierce. "I gave you life, and this is how you repay us." That was the moment I let out a laugh. Not loud, not harsh, just empty, like air slipping through a cracked pipe. "You gave me life," I told her, "and then for 30 years, you tried to make me believe I owed you for it." She recoiled slightly as I stepped closer. "When I was 22, I did not come to you pleading, 'Please let me bear the weight of your dysfunction. Allow me to carry your burdens. Let me constantly rescue my sister while you silently approve. Let me sacrifice my mental health, my relationships, my entire existence so you can avoid facing yourself." She remained silent, so I continued. "If you want assistance, contact a social worker, reach out to a credit counselor, use the same system you claimed people like us were too proud to accept help from. I am no longer your safety net." Then I returned to my office without even glancing back to see if she followed. But that was far from the conclusion. 7 days later, a letter arrived. Not an email, but an actual letter from the bank. The thick envelope signaled trouble. Inside was an investigation summary marked urgent. Apparently, someone attempted to secure a business loan using my identity, my social security number, and the tax identification tied to the family trust. The only reason it failed was because I had closed the account a few days earlier, triggering a fraud alert. The requested loan was $80,000. The business was named Emma Grace Recovery Services, LLC. I froze utterly. That company was a fabrication. No official LLC existed, no tax filings, no license, yet the paperwork was submitted, including a forged signature identical to mine. I contacted the bank, specifically the fraud division. The representative retrieved the complete file, and when she read out the co-signers as Dad and Mom, I sat there in stunned silence as she explained, "Ma'am, it seems someone close to you attempted to impersonate your authorized financial partner. If you had not closed that account, this might have gone unnoticed." They had not only used me, they were trying to shift the blame onto me by quietly linking my name to a loan I never approved. Suddenly, everything became clear. The way Emma suddenly wanted distance, the way my parents supported it, the silence, the withdrawal, the polite exile, it wasn't accidental. It was carefully arranged. Remove me from the account discreetly, keep my name connected, take the money, vanish, and let the bank come after me when everything fell apart. They did not just want help, they wanted to hold me accountable without permission. When that plan failed, I turned into the villain in a narrative they created to hide their own bungled crime. I spent the weekend submitting reports to the bank, the police, and the tax authorities. I handed over the forged documents, wrote an affidavit, and even provided old messages where Emma asked about opening a nonprofit in my name. It took hours, but every keystroke felt healing. That night, Emma called from a different number, crying. I wanted to say, "I understand now," so I let her speak. She never mentioned the loan or the forgery, only apologized repeatedly, talking about how difficult things had been and how we are. Still family. I asked a single question. Did you know about the business application? Total silence. Then the call abruptly ended. I immediately blocked the number. That moment marked a real transformation, not in them, but in myself. I began to sleep peacefully. I stopped obsessively checking my bank app every night, worried someone was secretly draining my funds again. I went out for dinner with friends and did not hesitate when it was time to pay the bill. Then a call came from Uncle Ray, the outcast the family labeled unstable after he severed ties years ago. He tracked me down on LinkedIn. "Saw what you did," he said. "Heard about the fund, heard about the loan, too." I never asked how. Ray always seemed to know more than he let show. "You are not the first they took advantage of," he added, "just the first who closed the tap." And suddenly it became clear. This was not only about me, it was generational. A long line of people groomed into compliance, silence, always playing the savior while everyone else drowned in denial. They saw me as the villain because I refused to be their hero anymore. Let me share something about heroes. Most end up broke and worn out while everyone applauds at their funeral. Not me. 2 months later, I moved to a new city. New job, better colleagues, higher income, no forwarding address. Then one day, in the quiet of my new apartment with floors still empty and furniture still arriving, I received a Facebook message from Jake. Yes, that Jake, Emma's abusive ex. The message said, "Didn't expect this. Thank you for supporting her even when she did not deserve it. I was not the only one she needed rescuing from. It hit me hard, not because I needed approval, but because it was the very first time someone in that circle admitted the truth that I had been protecting them from their own mistakes until I stopped. And when I finally stopped, what followed was not guilt, but a sense of liberation. Almost 1 year has passed, 12 months since I shut down the fund, since I was kicked out of the group chat, since the phone call at 3:11 a.m. that turned into 89 unanswered calls, a single voicemail, and a total financial disaster they never expected. Since they applied for a business loan using my identity without informing me and attempted to blame me for $80,000 in fabricated recovery fees. I kept expecting to feel hollow after walking away. That guilt would sneak up on me at night as it once did, whispering, "They are your family. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe you could have saved them." But the only emotion I experience now is peace, not a fake kind. Not the kind you pretend to have while holding back tears during a Sunday dinner when someone makes a joke about how you are always the responsible one. Real peace. That feeling when your phone does not buzz with anxiety, when your money belongs to you, when your limits are respected, when you never have to apologize for being free. They tried, of course. Mom sent me an email on Christmas Eve saying the tree looked emptier this year and attached a picture of it. Emma and her father sat together in the living room, smiling without showing their teeth, as if putting on a performance for the camera. On her birthday in March, Emma sent an email containing a 5-paragraph essay about reclaiming her power. She concluded with a casual remark asking for help covering her first and last month's rent. I never responded to either message. Still, I check my credit score every month. It remains fine. There are no unexpected accounts or unfamiliar charges. The alerts I set up after the fraud never went off anymore because I now take full control of my life and guard it just as fiercely as I once did for theirs. But here's the part that caught me off guard. Others began to share their stories too. Relatives I had not seen for years, colleagues I barely knew, and even a stranger on Reddit who reached out after reading a comment I left on a finance forum, saying, "Your story resonates with me." I think the same thing happened to me as well. It turns out there is a whole community of us. The strong, dependable ones who pay the bills, fix the messes, hide the fear, and bear the burdens while being accused of lacking warmth. When we finally ask for support in return, family vaults appear unlocked but empty, until one day we come to understand the power of closing the door firmly. Let me be clear, Walking away from my family was by far the most difficult decision I have ever faced. It was harder than witnessing Emma's relapse, harder than removing my father from my emergency contacts, and harder than choosing silence in the face of accusations calling me selfish, bitter, and cruel. Yet it also became the most vital choice I ever made. That moment was the final breaking point that convinced me I needed to move forward. I did what was right and arrived just a few weeks ago. I was walking home after a late client meeting on the same street I have crossed countless times, and there, outside the corner bakery, was Aunt Carol dressed in pearls with that familiar, confident attitude. She noticed me and waved as if we were close friends. I almost kept moving, but then I stopped. She scanned me from head to toe and said, "You look well." I replied, "I am." There was a pause. Then, without any hint of sarcasm, she asked, "Would you ever think about setting something up again for emergencies?" I laughed deeply from somewhere deep inside. Then calmly, I answered, "I did. It is called my future." And with that, I turned and walked away. I'm not sure if they will ever truly grasp what they lost or why I had to leave. Maybe they will rewrite the story, claiming I was selfish, unstable, or ungrateful. Perhaps Emma will write a blog post about toxic siblings and turn it into a podcast. I don't care because the truth is clear. I am not the villain in their narrative. I am the one who finally broke free from it. By doing so, I gave myself what they never could: freedom without strings attached.